Alright, I'm going to try and make this video kind of short and sweet. The goal of it's really just going to be to give the very basics of how I personally like to do program design with my workout programs. I don't always follow little mesocycles. I usually, though, try and develop mesocycles for myself, train through those for 4 to 8 weeks, and then develop a new mesocycle. Typically have a plan. Going into it how long I want to be following each one, but sometimes when I feel like something's going great, I might hold on to it a little bit longer, or if I feel like it's just going horribly, I might scrap it a little bit sooner. But I try never to change earlier than, or sooner than a 4-week period. But every once in a while, just for, I guess, mental health, especially if I'm busier or things just aren't, if I got a lot of other stuff going on, or just kind of for fun, I'll take a couple weeks here and there where I do whatever I feel like. Usually still kind of a game plan of what body parts I'm going to train, but not necessarily an actual training program. So anyway, how I like to do it is I do usually either 2 or 3 day splits, and that meaning that over the course of either 2 or 3 days I train every body part, and then I personally like to train 6 days a week. I enjoy going to the gym, so it's what works for me mentally to be in there frequently. I feel like as long as I'm eating properly and getting enough sleep, I've never really had an issue with not being able to recover. So I personally like to do it that way. I do tell people though, they can do 2 on 1 off, 3 on 1 off, 4 on 1 off. I mean, whatever works for you. But whether or not you want to do that kind of split with the rest days, I do still recommend that for my preferences, anyone that I work with or design programs for, and then also for my own programs, always doing either these 2 or 3 day splits. So anyway, the way I do everything is always priority based. It started off with an injury prevention kind of concept with it. It was actually the guy that I was working with when I was in college as my coach. He was used to be a strength conditioning coach for professional organizations actually, and he was always really big on injury prevention, and he felt like being big on injury prevention really helped out a lot with symmetry, so it was good for bodybuilding on kind of 2 standpoints, and keeps you healthy. So anyway, I do, and again, this is all a lot different than I feel like the way a lot of people do things, but I divide the body parts up into legs, back, chest, delts and traps, and then biceps and triceps are separate. So those are 6 separate body parts. So it would be one second, writing this all down. It's fun watching me write, huh? Be something like, if we can get this work, legs, chest, back, bicep, tricep. Alright, and then the way I do things from there is I just number numerically what the priorities are. So priorities 1 through 6 based on those six groups. So I'm just going to go ahead and make it simple, and I'm going to number them in the same order. No, I won't number them in the same order because you might not get the point. So we'll say legs are I'll go with me for what I think are my priorities. Personally, I think back is my number 1. Delts and traps I feel are my number 2. I would say biceps are my 3rd. Right now I'm actually going to go chest. Chest usually is not a big concern for me, but I feel like I've lost a little bit with it, so I'll put that in as actually, you know what, I'm going to put that in as number 3 because I have lost a bit with it. I haven't lost much with my arms, so I'm going to put them in as biceps at 4, triceps at 5, and then legs I'll put as number 6. So as you can see, I did, there we go, tricep 5, bicep 4, delt and trap 2, back 1, chest 3, leg 6. So that's a number priority that I personally assigned with it. So then we would have the 2-day or 3-day split options. So for a 2-day, you're going to go across and down numerically in priority order. So on days 1, you'd have priorities 1, 3, and 5. Day 2, you would have priorities 2, 4, and 6. So it would look something like that. So for what I personally just put down right now, if I were doing that split, it would be day 1 would come out to back, chest, and tricep, and then day 2 would come out to delts and traps, bicep, and legs. Now a 3-day split, based on the way I like to do things, you're going to do the same thing, except you're going across 3 days before you go down, instead of just the 2. So you'd have, you see that? Day 1, priorities 1 and 4, day 2, priorities 3 and 5, and day 3, priorities 3 and 6, which for me right now, the way I did it all, would come out to day 1 would be back and bicep, day 2 would be delts and traps with tricep, and day 3 would be chest and legs. I also do personally prefer doing them in set order. That's the whole concept of priority order. So if, for the 3-day, day 1 is back and bicep, you would do back first and bicep. But say it were the other way around, and your one of your main priorities was to work your biceps, I would do bicep before back, or before chest, or before legs, if that's what my priority is at that time. That's just how I like to do things. So other than that, I usually try and stick with about 10 exercises per day. So that means even if I'm doing a 2-day split where I'm hitting 3 body parts over the course of the day, I usually try and only stick to about 10 total exercises over the course of that workout. So if I were doing, for example, day 1 here, I have back, back, chest, and tricep. So I would probably do 4 to 5 movements for back, 3 to 4 for chest, and then 2 to 3 for tricep, is how I personally would split it up. Abs, I do kind of every other workout, just a little bit. Sometimes after every workout, but always just a little bit. And then cardio, now that it's starting to warm up out, I only do outside. But for my weight training, that's the basic, I guess, template that I use in terms of exercises and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it varies a lot more person to person, but in terms of helping someone find their basic split, that's usually how I do it. Like I said, priority order. Priorities being, based on what's weakest in terms of like physically weakest, or what's weakest in terms of symmetrically weakest. Like if you have a smaller muscle group that's very strong, that could still be a priority. Or if you have a bigger muscle group that's just very weak, that could be a priority. And by smaller, I mean relative to your physique. Like symmetrically, it's out of balance. That's what I meant by smaller or bigger, not like glutes versus calves or something. But anyway, yeah. So I always like to do a base on my priorities for maintaining strength, maintaining symmetry, and overall injury prevention. So that's my not so short explanation of how I like the basic foundation of how I like to split things up. So hopefully a couple people found this helpful.